Hey, Flo here. WordHike number 53, I think. Not totally sure, but something like that. Alright. I found a pretty nice spot. This whole ridge along here has a pretty wide open view all around. So yeah, hopefully the sun stays behind the cloud while I do the reading so I don't get overheated again. I didn't actually have any phones die on me or anything last time, but I could tell they were getting pretty hot, so. Okay. It's a possibility this might be my last reading for the day. We'll see. I've done a lot, so wouldn't be disappointed if this was the last one. There's other places I could go and I have time, but I kind of want to get home before crazy late today. So we're going to be reading Deuteronomy 30 to 31, Matthew 26, 57 to 75, Mark 14, 53 to 72, Luke 22, 54 to 69, and John 18, 12 to 27. Jesus just got arrested last reading, so I'm going to be going into the trial and all that stuff. And not too much left in the Gospels, but there's quite a few chunks just because they break it up into little pieces. Okay. Well, I actually did try to live stream sometime today. I was watching for a signal, but no place had good enough signal, including here. There's good enough signal to be able to change the slides, which is cool, but not even close to good enough for video feed online. So we're going to do a lot of uploads. Deuteronomy chapter 30. When all these things come upon you, the blessings and curses I have set before you, and you call them to mind in all the nations to which the Lord your God has banished you, and when you and your children return to the Lord your God and obey his voice with all your heart and all your soul, according to everything I am giving you today, then he will restore you from captivity and have compassion on you and gather you from all the nations to which the Lord your God has scattered you. Even if you have been banished to the farthest horizon, he will gather you and return you from there. And the Lord your God will bring you into the land your fathers possessed, and you will take possession of it. He will cause you to prosper and multiply more than your fathers. The Lord your God will circumcise your hearts and the hearts of your descendants, and you will love him with all your heart and with all your soul, so that you may live. Then the Lord your God will put all these curses upon your enemies who hate you and persecute you, and you will again obey the voice of the Lord and follow all his commandments I am giving you today. So the Lord your God will make you abound in all the work of your hands and in the fruit of your womb, the offspring of your livestock, and the produce of your land. Indeed, the Lord will again delight in your goodness, as he delighted in that of your fathers. If you obey the Lord your God by keeping his commandments and statutes that are written in this book of the law, and if you turn to him with all your heart and with all your soul, for this commandment I give you today is not too difficult for you or beyond your reach. It is not in heaven that you should need to ask, who will ascend into heaven to get it for us and proclaim it, that we may obey it? And it is not beyond the sea that you should need to ask, Who will cross the sea to get it for us and proclaim it, that we may obey it? But the word is very near to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so that you may obey it. See, I have set before you today life and goodness, as well as death and disaster. For I am commanding you today to love the Lord your God, to walk in his ways, and to keep his commandments, statutes, and ordinances, so that you may live and increase, and the Lord your God may bless you in the land that you are entering to possess. But if your heart turns away and you do not listen, but are drawn away to bow down to other gods and worship them, I declare to you today that you will surely perish. You shall not prolong your days in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess. I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you today, that I have set before you I call heaven and earth as witnesses against you today, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, so that you and your descendants may live, and that you may love the Lord your God, obey him, and hold fast to him. For he is your life, and he will prolong your life in the land that the Lord swore to give to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's probably just on the screen, but yeah. It's got this really cool rainbow reflection of the sun on my phone screen. Not sure why. It's pretty cool looking though. Actually really cool. But I don't see any of that back there, so it must just be a weird, the polarized screen effect or something. I don't know. I'm not staying very straight on this. What? Oh, that was weird. Deuteronomy chapter 31. When Moses had finished speaking these words to all Israel, he said to them, I am now 120 years old. I am no longer able to come and go, and the Lord has said to me, You shall not cross the Jordan. The Lord your God himself will cross over ahead of you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you will dispossess them. Joshua will cross ahead of you, as the Lord has said. And the Lord will do this to them as he did to Sihon and Og, the kings of the Amorites, when he destroyed them along with their land. The Lord will deliver them over to you, and you must do to them exactly as I have commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified of them, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Then Moses called for Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, Be strong and courageous, for you will go with this people into the land that the Lord swore. Then Moses called for Joshua and said to him in the presence of all Israel, Be strong and courageous, for you will go with this people into the land that the Lord swore to their fathers to give them, and you shall give it to them as an inheritance. The Lord himself goes before you. He will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid or discouraged. So Moses wrote down this law and gave it to the priests, the sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and to all the elders of Israel. Then Moses commanded them, At the end of every 7 years, at the appointed time in the year of remission of debt, during the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel comes before the Lord your God at the place he will choose, you are to read this law in the hearing of all Israel. Assemble the people, men, women, children, and the foreigners within your gates, so that they may listen and learn to fear the Lord your God, and to follow carefully all the words of this law. Then their children who do not know the law will listen and learn to fear the Lord your God, as long as you live in the land that you are crossing the Jordan to possess." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Behold, the time of your death is near. Call Joshua and present yourselves at the tent of meeting, so that I may commission him." So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves at the tent of meeting. Then the Lord appeared at the tent in a pillar of cloud, and the cloud stood over the entrance to the tent. And the Lord said to Moses, "You will soon rest with your fathers, and these people will rise up and prostitute themselves with the foreign gods of the land they are entering. They will forsake me and break the covenant I have made with them. On that day my anger will burn against them, and I will abandon them and hide my face from them, so that they will be consumed, and many troubles and afflictions will befall them. On that day they will say, 'Have not these disasters come upon us because our God is no longer with us?' And on that day I will surely hide my face because of all the evil they have done by turning to other gods. Now therefore write down for yourselves this song and teach it to the Israelites. Have them recite it, so that it may be a witness for me against them. When I have brought them into the land that I swore to give their fathers, a land flowing with milk and honey, they will eat their fill and prosper. Then they will turn to other gods and worship them, and they will reject me and break my covenant. And when many troubles and afflictions have come upon them, this song will testify against them, because it will not be forgotten from the lips of their descendants. For I know their inclination, even before I bring them into the land that I swore to give them." So that very day Moses wrote down this song and taught it to the Israelites. Then the Lord commissioned Joshua son of Nun and said, "Be strong and courageous, for you will bring the Israelites into the land that I swore to give them, and I will be with you." When Moses had finished writing in a book the words of this law from the beginning to end, he gave this command to the Levites who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord. "Take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, so that it may remain there as a witness against you. For I know how rebellious and stiff-necked you are. If you are already rebelling against the Lord while I am still alive, how much more will you rebel after my death? Assemble before me all the elders of your tribes and all your officers, so that I may speak these words in their hearing and call heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know that after my death you will become utterly corrupt and turn from the path I have commanded you. And in the days to come, disaster will befall you because you will do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger by the work of your hands." Then Moses recited aloud to the whole assembly of Israel the words of this song from beginning to end. We'll have to wait till the next reading, I guess, to get the song. Matthew chapter 26, starting in verse 57. Those who had arrested Jesus led him away to the house of Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and elders had gathered. But Peter followed him at a distance, right up to the courtyard of the high priest. And he went in and sat down with the guards to see the outcome. Now the chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were seeking false testimony against Jesus in order to put him to death. But they did not find any, though many false witnesses came forward. Finally, 2 came forward and declared, This man said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and rebuild it in 3 days. So the high priest stood up and asked him, Have you no answer? What are these men testifying against you? But Jesus remained silent. Then the high priest said to him, I charge you under oath by the living God, tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. You have said it yourself, Jesus answered. But I say to all of you, from now on you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. At this the high priest tore his clothes and declared, He has blasphemed. Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, now you have heard the blasphemy. "What do you think?" "He deserves to die," they answered. Then they spit in his face and struck him. Others slapped him and said, "Prophesy to us, Christ, who hit you?" Meanwhile, Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came up to him. "You also were with Jesus the Galilean," she said. But he denied it before them all. "I do not know what you are talking about." When Peter had gone out to the gateway, another servant girl saw him and said to the people there, "This man was with Jesus of Nazareth." And again he denied it with an oath, "I do not know the man." After a little while, those standing nearby came up to Peter. "Surely you are one of them," they said, "for your accent gives you away." At that he began to curse and swear to them, "I do not know the man," and immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word that Jesus had spoken, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. Mark chapter 14, starting in verse 53. They led Jesus away to the high priest, and all the chief priests, elders, and scribes assembled. Peter followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest. And he sat with the officers and warmed himself by the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole Sanhedrin were seeking testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they did not find any. For many bore false witness against Jesus, but their testimony was inconsistent. Then some men stood up and testified falsely against him. "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this man-made temple, and in 3 days I will build another that is made without hands.'" But even their testimony was inconsistent. So the high priest stood up before them and questioned Jesus. "Have you no answer? What are these men testifying against you?" But Jesus remained silent and made no reply. Again the high priest questioned him. "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed One?" "I am," said Jesus, "and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of heaven." At this the high priest tore his clothes and declared, "Why do we need any more witnesses? You have heard the blasphemy. What is your verdict?" And they all condemned him as deserving of death. Then some of them began to spit on him. They blindfolded him, struck him with their fists, and said to him, "Prophesy." And the officers received him with slaps in his face. While Peter was in the courtyard below, one of the servant girls of the high priest came down and saw him warming himself there. She looked at Peter and said, "You also were with Jesus the Nazarene." But he denied it. "I do not know or even understand what you are talking about," he said. Then he went out to the gateway, and the rooster crowed. There the servant girl saw him and again said to those standing nearby, "This man is one of them." But he denied it again. After a little while, those standing nearby said once more to Peter, "Surely you are one of them, for you too are a Galilean." But he began to curse and swear, "I do not know this man of whom you speak." And immediately the rooster crowed a second time. Then Peter remembered the word that Jesus had spoken to him, "Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And he broke down and wept. Luke chapter 22, starting in verse 54. Then they seized Jesus, led him away, and took him into the house of the high priest. And Peter followed at a distance. When those present had kindled a fire in the middle of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat down among them. A servant girl saw him seated in the firelight and looked intently at him. "This man also was with him," she said. But Peter denied it. "Woman, I do not know him," he said. A short time later, someone else saw him and said, "You also are one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." About an hour later, another man insisted, "Certainly this man was with him, for he too is a Galilean." "Man, I do not know what you are talking about," Peter replied. While he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word that the Lord had spoken to him. "Before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. The men who were holding Jesus began to mock him and beat him. They blindfolded him and kept demanding, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other blasphemous things against him. At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and scribes, met together. They led Jesus into their Sanhedrin and said, "If you are the Christ, tell us." Jesus answered, "If I tell you, you will not believe, and if I ask you a question, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." John chapter 18, starting in verse 12. Then the band of soldiers, with its commander and the officers of the Jews, arrested Jesus and bound him. They brought him first to Annas, who was the father-in-law of Caiaphas, the high priest that year. Caiaphas was the one who had advised the Jews that it would be better if one man died for the people. Now Simon Peter and another disciple were following Jesus. Since that disciple was known to the high priest, he also went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood outside at the door. Then the disciple who was known to the high priest went out and spoke to the doorkeeper and brought Peter in. At this, the servant girl watching the door said to Peter, "Aren't you also one of this man's disciples?" "I am not," he answered. Because it was cold, the servants and officers were standing around a charcoal fire they had made to keep warm. And Peter was also standing with them, warming himself. Meanwhile, the high priest questioned Jesus about his disciples and his teaching. "I have spoken openly to the world," Jesus answered. "I always taught in the synagogues and at the temple, where all the Jews come together. I said nothing in secret." "Why are you asking me?" Oh, this is weird. "Why are you asking me? Ask those who heard my message. Surely they know what I said." When Jesus had said this, one of the officers standing nearby slapped him in the face and said, "Is this how you answer the high priest?" Jesus replied, "If I said something wrong, testify as to what was wrong. But if I spoke correctly, why did you strike me?" Then Annas sent him, still bound, to Caiaphas the high priest. Simon Peter was still standing and warming himself. So they asked him, "Aren't you also one of his disciples?" He denied it and said, "I am not." One of the high priest's servants, a relative of the man whose ear Peter had cut off, asked, "Didn't I see you with him in the garden?" Peter denied it once more, and immediately a rooster crowed. All right. Well, that's most likely going to be my last reading for the day. I can't even remember how many I did now. I'm losing track. also don't remember if I marked this place, so I'll just do it again just in case. I'm getting kind of tired. I stayed up all night last night like I usually do when I go on hikes suddenly. Wasn't necessarily planning on going out today until I saw that the weather was awesome and figured it might not be too many chances like that. It's changing. Like, I think this is probably the last day of summer officially. I mean, not like by the calendar, but just a super nice day, and from the forecast it looks like we might get some not as nice days coming. So anyway, I don't know how much I'll be reading, so I wanted to get some in, I saw the awesome day, so I'm like, oh, okay, let's just go do some stuff. So I got a little bit of hiking in today, mostly did Bible reading. I would have done even more hiking if I got up earlier, but yeah, I got a decent start today. At least I didn't get out like after noon like I sometimes do. So anyway, I don't know if this will be the last reading or not, but I think I've done like 7 readings or something, so it's pretty good for one day. Anyway, I'm gonna catch you all later. Thanks for joining me.